has finally happened. Bradley Beal was just bought out by the Phoenix Suns for only $13 million of his over $100 million contract that he still had to produce on. So this is a win-win in my opinion, and I want to talk about what this does for both sides. The Phoenix Suns have finally just cleared up a giant amount of cap, won't have to pay Bradley Beal this, I think it was about $113 million over the next 2 seasons. And now they have this opening that they can fill with whatever they need. He was a big and giant component in what the Phoenix Suns could do. He was locking them up and putting them in handcuffs, making them not be able to do much at all in off seasons and trades, being well over the second apron. And now that he's gone, having to only pay him $13 million of his over $100 million contract is an absolute steal. And I find this a giant win for the Suns. But I find this an even bigger win for the team he signed with, the LA Clippers. He signed a 2-year deal with a player option worth $11 million. So over the next 2 seasons, he's getting paid about $5.5 million, and I very much expect him to decline that second-year player option because no one really understands how good of a player Bradley Beal really is. Last year, although he only played, people will say only, I should say it's quite a bit in my opinion, 53 games, and in those 53 games, he averaged 17 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 3.7 assists. Shooting 42%, or sorry, not 42%, 49.7% from the field and 38.6% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. The only downside to Bradley Beal was his contract, and now that that's out of the picture, I find him as one of the most underrated players in the league, one of the most underpaid. Someone averaging these numbers on this efficiency, I just don't see a world where he's only getting paid $5 million. That's why they added that second year being a player option and why I expect it to be declined. He averaged 17 points. People just will always look at him bad. The media looked at him bad. Just everyone who saw him looked at him bad just because he was getting paid $50 million, which is completely understandable. $50 million is not worth only 17 points a game. Don't get me wrong, the efficiency is great, but 17 points per game on $50 million is nothing. Plus, the Suns were losing damn near every game. Didn't even make the playoffs. Just there's no need for the Suns to be well over the second apron, not even making the playoffs, having one of the most expensive rosters in the league. That's why they trade Kevin Durant for Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. I'm a Rockets fan. I'm happy to see Jalen Green go. Dillon Brooks I was a little upset with, but I got Kevin Durant now. Ordered his jersey. Can't wait to see him in a Houston Rockets jersey. But get back to what Beal is doing. He's going to be fitting in with this Clippers lineup, which is absolutely perfect. They knew from the jump with the trade that just happened a few days ago being pretty much they give up Norman Powell for John Collins. And John Collins, also a super underrated player. Don't get me wrong, he was in Utah playing pretty, not winning basketball, I should say. But in not winning basketball, he averaged 20 points. It was like 19.7 points. That's a good player, and that fills the one position that the LA Clippers needed, being the power forward. But then you had the opening at the shooting guard. Who is going to fit that? Chris Dunn is a great player, and there's a chance that Chris Dunn even starts next year because of his absolute lockdown defense. But Bradley Beal now can fit that role. He was coming off the bench for the Suns for a decent amount of the season when people were actually healthy, and he was still putting up great numbers. I don't know how many times I have to say it. He's one of the most underpaid players in the league right now, only getting $5.5 million for 17 points per game on fantastic efficiency. He's almost 50-40. He's not 90 because he's only shooting 80% from the free throw line, but he shot 49.7, so .03 away from 50, and 38.6 from 3, which is only 1.4. He is a fantastic player and was only looked at bad because of his contract. And now that that's out of the picture, I don't see a world where anyone can look at Beal as a bad player anymore. He's going to prove himself next year. He's going to decline that player option the year after, and he's going to get paid next summer, and I'm just going to call that now. What does this mean for the Clippers? You now have James Harden at your one. Your window is still open for only 2 more years, and getting Beal that's why he's signed to this 2-year contract. Beal, Harden, and Kawhi are all signed for the next 2 years. being that's their window. Like, they're older players. All of them are pretty old. But now you have Harden at the 1. Beal or Dunn at the 2. I'd start Beal, to be honest. I just think he can just be that secondary scorer, especially with Kawhi being out a lot of the time. And they're always trying to save him for playoffs. I could see Beal being that number 2 option type of situation, at least at that guard position. That 3 being Kawhi Leonard. That 4 being, in my opinion, I would start Derek Jones Jr., but I could see John Collins starting. And then Ivica Zubac, one of the most underrated players in the league, was talked about for being an all-star last year and being all defensive player of the year, sorry. And then off the bench, you still have either Chris Dunn, Bradley Beal, Derek Jones Jr., or John Collins, someone who averaged 20 points off the bench last year. And then, they got a couple other signings, to be honest. It's nothing too crazy. Their depth isn't crazy good, but they still have nice players. They still have Nick Batum, who's just signed back. Even though he's old, people don't understand how nice of a player he is. He's a perfect scoring option right next to James Harden. And people forget how good Kawhi Leonard is. Unless you're a Clippers fan or you've seen him in the past, people don't know how great of a player Kawhi Leonard really is. But overall, I think this was a win-win. The Suns get out of his massive contract and now can look. They're kind of in purgatory. I don't know what they're doing, if they're going to be a rebuilding team from now on or they're going to be trying to get, maybe a play-in spot, maybe a far down Western Conference spot. But this Western Conference is really good. People aren't talking about the Trailblazers enough, who's a team that was super low in the standings last year, but now have a chance to be pretty great with their team. I think they have all the right pieces. They could be like the Houston Rockets this year. And then for the Clippers, of course, now they get a bona fide veteran who was only looked at bad because of his contract. Take that out of the equation. Now he's just a great player. I think this was a great move for either team, and I don't see a world where the Clippers don't make the playoffs. I dang near see them being a top 4 seed next year. I love this move. You guys let me know down in the comments what you think about this move. Being for Bradley Beal and being for the Clippers. Right now the Suns, they're just going to be, no one really cares about. They're just going to be in purgatory. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this move. In my opinion, I'm loving the move. I give it an A+ for the Clippers. I love this move. Let me know down in the comments, guys, what your thoughts are.